Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Spark Faith Podcast. I am Dr. Chris Sargent, and today, we are going to have some serious fun today, as usual. I have with me a career car earning, and we can talk about what that means in a minute, future pink Cadillac earner, sales director, and songwriter, Becky Newson. So cool. She is such a cool lady, you guys. She has spoken into me. She will earn nothing from my success in Mary Kay, but she comes alongside me and tells me I can do it and gives me ideas. And she's just an amazing sweetheart, big-hearted, amazing person. Yeah. So welcome, Becky. So happy to have you here. Go. Tell us all about you.
Thank you. Well, my name is Becky Newson. My voice, God's gift to me. He uses me through singing, speaking, teaching self-care routines. He spoke a word and I was made, and as I speak, he is pleased. Abundance is what he wishes for his daughter and her bees. Pink Cadillac, the cornerstone, a trophy for all to see, to represent the lives he wishes to redeem. Through us this year, he'll make us brave, courageous to go out and share. There was a reason I was made to stand out with no hair. Women need to know how to wash their face and to feel good within. Our job is to make them feel important. And now it's time for us to begin. My name is Becky Newson, future NSD. My bees and I are flying high. Pink Cadillac 2023. There you go. Me in a nutshell.
Oh my God. I love it. I love it. You're so creative. That's amazing. So tell the audience about you. Obviously, you have a very unique look, and y'all, this is not necessarily by choice, but by design. And God has put hair on all of our imperfect heads and left some very perfect ones out there for everyone to see. So, and Becky's just fortunate enough to have one of those perfect heads for this day. So tell us your story.
You're so sweet. Yes. Well, gosh, what, like 10, 12, 2023. Oh, wow. Probably about 11 years ago now, I would be sitting here with some hair on my head because I always wore hair pieces my whole life. So real fast, like backtracking on me, I started out, I was 18 months old and was in the bath one night. My mom was washing my hair and it started coming out in clumps, man. Can you imagine a 22-year-old mom with her toddler in the tub and the hair is pulled out in clumps, just like quarter, the dollar coin size, not just a quarter, but size clumps. And within 2 weeks, I was completely bald. So she took me to the dermatologist because that's where people, for some reason, think to take balding people, even though it's like, I don't know. I digress, but it's not a skin thing. It's an inner thing. So right. I'm like, why would I go to a skin doctor for my hair loss? Doesn't make sense to me, but maybe one day that'll be corrected. Which is actually kind of why I'm related now over here with Chris and all that she's doing for inner health. But I lost my hair at 18 months and it was due to alopecia areata. And at that time it was areata and totalis. There's 3 types: areata, totalis, universalis, and it can kind of come and go in between all of them forever. But it's an autoimmune hair loss condition, essentially an allergy due to inflammation in the body. And this is what my body has chosen to reflect due to something else obviously going on that we just haven't determined what that is. Diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, things like that occur when your genes genetically stem from having autoimmune conditions. Alopecia areata itself is not like the genetic disease. It's an option that can happen and occur. And so it's just what I ended up with. And usually if you have one autoimmune, you can develop several others. And so it's just how your body's prone. And so that's a little bit about that. So I lost my hair at that time. And my journey really was just, I think at 4, my hair grew back. And then at 4, it fell out again. And that's when it developed into universalis. It took my eyelashes, my arm hair, all of that, whatever hair you have as a 4-year-old, it took it. And so it hasn't grown back. Every now and then I'll get a quarter-sized patch of hair on the back of my head and like a hair right here and one in the middle of my head that my kids like to play with, but that's about it. And so, my mom was always praying, oh, please make Becky's hair grow back. Please make it grow back, or please send her hair. You know what, how the hair came in prayer. It came in the form of being the recipient over time of 4 Locks of Love hair pieces. So
Oh,
kudos to
that's
Locks
so
of Love. I was
cool.
the recipient of those human hair pieces that would have cost us about $5 to $6 grand each.
Wow.
Okay. And so human hair prosthetics, by the way, let's not say wigs, people, when it's for an actual medical condition. Prosthetics are very expensive and don't last that long. So,
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't even think
mhm.
about that.
So once I kind of used up those hair pieces, I just really haven't dove into investing in more. But as a young kid, I went through, the confidence highs and lows of things. I remember going to kindergarten in a white ball cap with little flowers all over it, like little fake flowers sticking up all over it. And then in first grade, I remember that hat and having a wig. My mom allowed me to have the options, and she made sure all of my classmates knew what was going on with me. We'd had coloring pages, a little video, VHS video,
Oh, wow.
so each year that would be played and we'd have the coloring pages and talk about it so that my classmates would just understand. So I always grew up with the phrasing of knowledge is understanding. So bullying is not going to happen if you've successfully created the
Educated.
knowledge and educated, thank you, the people around you for your difference. Don't be so insecure about it that you can't even tell people what's going on. Like, they're going to come up with their own conclusions and then act weird around you if you're acting weird and aren't telling them stuff. It's the
Right.
same
Oh,
in
I
any
love that your
communication.
mom was really ahead of the curve on that then.
Yep. So,
Like that, what a blessing. That's so cool that she kind of cut off because I was going to ask you, like, did you get teased and all that? Nope, probably not much.
no, not much at all, because it was just like, hey, here's the deal. Her hair's not growing, not contagious, just
Right.
what's going on in her body. She gets to wear hats. Nobody else in this school does. She gets to wear hats. So be jealous. And she might come and go in hair instead. And so I remember this, I have this one memory of being out for recess and having my hat on and having this little burst of confidence, or no, wait, having my hair on and having this little burst of confidence and running into the classroom without permission and taking my wig off, putting it in the backpack, and putting my hat on and heading back out. And I got in trouble by the teacher for not telling her. And I was like, I had to just do it. I had to just do it. I had this just like 5 seconds of bravery. And that one little memory has stemmed through
Oh,
all the way to just after college, to where, and I have a few other backtrack stories, but just relating that one little story to when I just graduated college and I was working restaurants to figure it out. And I had this thought, like, gosh, I'm in front of all these people all the time. I'm wearing my hair pieces. And I wanted to become the support group leader for alopecia here in Nashville, Tennessee. And so I was like, gosh, how am I supposed to make awareness for this? You got to just stop wearing your wig, Becky. And it was always something that I wanted to do full time.
ooh,
It wasn't that I was ever hiding not having hair. It was always just, that's just how I looked. I wore hair as my look. Like, I would tell anybody any day that it's a wig. It's not, I wasn't scared of that. It was just, that was how I wanted to look and how I related to myself
right. Just
visually.
like if I'm a short hair girl, like that, right? Like
Yep.
I love short hair. I mean, short hair as opposed to being a long hair girl.
Yep,
Same, right?
exactly. Exactly. So, but I just had this burst of, or I think I emailed my manager and I was like, hey, I think I'm going to start coming into work, no hair. Everybody already knew, but I think I'm going to not wear my hair. So I sent him that email and asked him to like tell everybody, knowing what my mom always did. And I like had this little 5 seconds of bravery one morning getting ready for work. And I was like, I'm just going to do it today. I'm just going to do it. So I had my hair on. I went out of my door, had the 5 seconds of bravery, opened my door, ripped the hair off, threw it in on the floor, and just ran to my car. Cause like you have to have that. And there's a movie out there too, like that 30 seconds of bravery thing. You just got to take it and do it, like hold your breath and do it. And once you're in the middle of another situation, you got to just keep going from there. And so I just showed up to work with no hair, and he never got the email. He never told anybody. So it was just like, But I always then served tables and worked restaurants, no hair. And I can't tell you how many people were put into my life. I met so many people with alopecia, so many people that were going through chemotherapy and things that just wanted to relate. Prayed over this one gentleman at the restaurant because of not wearing hair. He had cancer and he was going blah, blah, blah. So I
Oh,
prayed
that's so
over him in the moment,
sweet.
and he gave me a necklace with a key on it, that the key is the key of courage. It says courage with a lion on it. And I still have it to this day. He said, keep going out and being the key to courage. And it was
That is
very, I
so
cried in the
you.
middle of the restaurant. It was so impactful because I prayed over him. Even though we didn't have the same thing, we related over this difference of not having hair. And it was just really special. I have no idea whatever happened to him and his story, but how we're just planted in people's lives for certain reasons. Just if you can, my whole slogan throughout this journey has been, because I wrote a song about it, just go out and be brave enough to be bare, meaning bear, B-A-R-E,
Oh,
bear who you are. In here, it's not about what you do. Me as a Mary Kay director, like, that's just a platform, man. That is not, and it has nothing to do with my insides and my spirit and the plans God has for me and the gifts inside of me. It's a platform. And so I've always just said, go out to be brave enough to be bare and allow him to use you, because he will, whether you believe it or not, whether you know him or not, he will use you because he loves you and he knows you, even if you don't know him just yet. So it's incredible.
mic drop right there. Boom. I could end the interview and you just nailed it right there.
Mhm.
Dang.
Yeah.
That's
So
that's
this is important for me
beautiful.
to remind
Brave to be
myself.
bare.
You have these things that you know about you, and then you go through life and the world brings you down. That's kind of a moment that I'm in, honestly. And like, this is just really important for others to hear, but also to say it out loud. Like, when you speak things out loud, the impact to yourself, reminding yourself, it's really important.
Yes. He does love you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
he's got you here for a reason. Yeah. It's true. And to my audience, y'all, this is so brave right now. Just her being on a podcast. She doesn't know who's going to see it. She doesn't get to educate them ahead of time. She just gets to walk into whoever is listening right now or watching and be in your life. And clearly this is why her and I have connected at such a heart level, just with her vulnerability and her story of courage and bravery and moving forward anyway, in the face
Yeah.
of fear, in the face of whatever it is. She just goes forward. You look at the fear and go ahead.
You have
So
those moments in life where you just sit stagnant for a little bit and you just go backwards when you do that for too long. And so,
yeah,
that's a little bit of what I go in and out of sometimes. Um, and especially through the winter time, I think a lot of us can say, if you're not taking that vitamin D that this lady
yes
here has been
ma'am.
telling me about, um, you hit those plateaus sometimes and you're like, okay, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? Okay, go back to the groundwork. So I was reading something this morning in my 100 Days of Believing Bigger. I don't know if I can share certain things on here or not. Can I or not?
You can share whatever you want. I
Okay,
think, and we
so
have the same devotional. We're
yes,
doing the same
yes, we do.
devotional right now.
So it's pretty amazing. So I don't know,
Yeah,
pre
it's
plug for you, whoever you wrote
right.
this. But
Marshawn.
today's was You Are a Warrior. And I can't tell you how much I needed that,
Oh,
because
yes.
I've been in this zone of the word quit lately, and I've been fighting through it, because just like with alopecia areata, like, you can't quit alopecia. You can
Hey,
just slap a wig on, but you can't quit it. So I've always just woken up and kept going. And so that's what I'm applying to my Mary Kay life and my work life and my hopes for influence. But today's was about influence, and just remembering that influence isn't about reach or notoriety. And sometimes
that's
in this
right.
world of like social media influencer and this and that, like, you wrap your worth and your value and what you're doing in life, your purpose, around the numbers and the likes and who's seeing it. But you know what? Do you
Comparison
guys
is
know
the
the story of the little
comparison
girl
is the
walking?
thief of joy. Comparison.
It is. And so
Go
really
ahead,
it
the little
just,
girl. Tell
yeah,
us.
well, yeah, let me not skip forward too fast, but But influence isn't about reach or notoriety, it's about impact. And so do you know about the story of the little girl walking down the beach and there are just starfish everywhere, all over the beach? And they're like,
Yep, starfish story.
they can't breathe, right? And walking with mom or dad or whoever, and she's like picking a starfish up and throwing it into the water. And they're like, what are you doing? You can't save all these starfish. She's like, no, but I just saved that one.
Right.
It's all about the one, it's all about the one. And so just the impact that you make and how your impact frightens the enemy. And that's when the battle begins, because that's when the enemy is trying to tell you that you are not capable, that you're not worthy, and that you're not victorious. And so it's your job to keep plugged into these kinds of things, to remember your beauty and your influence, and that you are full of wisdom and potential, and to not believe in that and not let that battle happen.
Don't let those lies happen.
Because you are indeed capable. If you don't hear anything else, you are capable, you are worthy and victorious. So go out and be brave enough to be there,
Yes.
Yeah. So lots of little stories along the way, but ultimately back to the fact that my mom was praying for me to grow my hair back. And she actually was just with me this last week. I'm 34 years old. And she just said, I don't know why God never answered my prayer, growing your hair back, blah, blah, blah. Like because they're going through this thing about the power of prayer and healing, and how and forgiveness. And like when you forgive, when you feel like you're holding on to something, when you forgive somebody, a lot of times a physical illness goes away.
It's true.
And she was relating that to her prayer of me being healed. And I was like, Mom, don't you understand? This is not that. I lost my hair when I was 18 months. I didn't have a grudge against anybody.
Right.
Like
It has nothing to do
God's
with it.
purpose. This is something he wants I need to be a visual impactor. I need to be a visual thing to attract the right people to influence, and to just make a difference, and for him, for his glory, and through my difference. Like, it's just another way that he's using me. We're not all built with the same gifts, and it's actually not a burden. It's a blessing.
It is a blessing.
The song that I wrote about being brave enough to be bare has that line, like just turning your burdens into blessings, because it was a pastoral what do you call it, like sermon I heard one day when I was going through this process of really learning all this about myself. And I wrote this into the song about, oh, wow, yeah, turn your burdens into blessings. So take that one thing that's really hard, flip it around. Okay, what could come from it? What could come from it? And believe in it. So
yeah, I totally believe that God puts our challenges in our life as opportunities, right? They're opportunities to grow, they're opportunities to change, they're opportunities to make money, they're opportunities to meet people, they're opportunities, but things that are hard that come along are for us, not being done to us like the victim, right? They're ultimately for our good. They're ultimately for us to use to help others with too, right? Like my whatever challenges I've had and overcome means that I can help the next person overcome those same challenges. It just allows me to speak into other people and help more people with that.
Exactly.
Same as what you're doing right here.
Exactly. And so just tying it into with what I'm doing through Mary Kay is just, I moved to Nashville to sing and to do music. And I ended up working business side at a record label. I have a music business degree from Belmont University here in Nashville. And I was doing that. And then had my little girl Kennedy, and like life changed because I needed to be flexible for her. And so that's where restaurants kept in play for my life, because it was flexible. And found myself needing some happy and needing to start taking care of myself again, because my dreams had shifted, going from music to mom. And I was like, oh, like, that's not why I moved here, blah, blah, blah. I didn't move here to work at a restaurant. Nothing wrong with it. It was just not what I thought I was going to do. And that's where Mary Kay came into play. Was I needed some more skincare. Somebody I used to work with at the record label did Mary Kay. So I had some from her, but then she stopped, needed somebody new, found somebody new, got some skincare. And she walked into my house and was just this burst of joy and light that I needed in the moment. I haven't talked to her since. I don't know what happened to her, but she, I was like, tell me about this Mary Kay thing. I need a platform. I need something. I need some happiness. So that came into my life that way, not realizing it would be like a career choice at this point now,
Wow.
8, 9 years later. It was in my back pocket for a while, did facials, makeovers here and there, but and thought it could be a great platform instead of singing on stage, making awareness of hair loss. Every time I'm in front of a woman, it be a way to generate conversation and tell me, like, open up, like, tell me a little bit about you, right? Like, what's different about you? What's your gift?
Right.
What's your burden that needs turned into a blessing? Those were my conversations at my facials. Pocketed my Mary Kay for a little while as I was a manager at a restaurant, a lot of hours go into that, and then came back around when I needed it. And let me tell you this real quick. Again, not my plans, but his. I didn't think I was going to be a Mary Kay girl. I didn't think I was going to have my own business and put makeup, slap makeup on people and take care of their skin. Like that wasn't a vision of mine, but God's using it. So I quit my restaurant job. A month's notice, had nothing else lined up. I did like 1 or 2 interviews music industry wise. And they're like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be my own boss. Well, that didn't fly. I was too honest. But I was 6 months pregnant. What am I going to do? This is end of 2019. So we were praying and praying and praying and listening to a podcast, Transformation Church podcast plug for Crazy Faith series. And we stepped out in Crazy Faith big time. My husband's like, Becky, I've been praying and I feel like the Holy Spirit's just telling me to tell you. Funny how he talks through others sometimes. Take care of what I've given you. And I was like, well, what have you given me? And the next day I had a random Mary Kay order on my website. And at that moment, I was not working my business. It wasn't active. I was
Wow.
like, okay, I can hear you. So that's what I did. I held a little birthday party for myself and I ran it in 9 months, which is funny. I love the number affiliation. So I was about to have my baby. It takes 9 months to have a baby. In 9 months, and I earned my first diamond ring with Mary Kay. And typically it takes a whole year to get to that level. And so it has to do with your sales, basically. But in January of 2020, I had Kai and I had already said yes and got my business started. And so I had some groundwork like laid.
Done.
And so when COVID hit and I would have lost my restaurant job anyway, can I just tell you, had I not listened to Holy Spirit, where I would have been? Like I wasn't rolling in the dough, but I was settled to where I could work from home through COVID.
That's
Right?
amazing. And that's just, that's where we can't see what he can see, right? That's where faith comes in. That's where
Crazy
hope
faith.
like sits
Mm-hmm.
on the bottom, right? And then we just have that faith through the hope that, yep, this is going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
God knows. And
Mm-hmm.
you talked about just the impact of the one, right? It's the one decision. It's the one slow down moment where you listened, right? It's God will, Jesus will come after the one and leave the 99. And he came after you and said, hey, Becky, this is really what you need to be doing. And you're just going to have to trust me to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
So where does that bring us now? You're not songwriting, or you've started songwriting again, or you're
Good
singing
question.
and not singing, or you're kind of up in the air. We don't know what God has next for you.
Yeah, so I moved here for music, found myself in makeup, got the M's going on. But I
Such a songwriter
what I
right there.
found was that it didn't matter what platform God was going to use me to preach and to speak and to bring people to him. So now my whole thing is, man, I hope what you get today is a little Christ and a little confidence from my appointment with you, So my whole mission is just to go and instill Christ and confidence in women, realizing that I'm not I'm not like medical, like I don't care biology. It's interesting, but I don't care. I'm not a doctor. So I'm not going to go out and help people with alopecia and different illnesses from the inside out. I'm meant to help women from the outside in. Because when you take care of your outside, and maybe it's just washing your face and helping them find the right formula for them, because that's really challenging. We're not taught that kind of stuff, the right formula, and then being able to make changes through my Mary Kay business for their skincare as things might or might not work. And every 7 years, your skin's different basically anyway. So you need changes. but by doing that and helping them feel confident in their own skin, how that can just make your day different, and they have that one little thing, that little piece of their morning routine that's just for them. It makes such a difference. And then we get to the makeup part of, and I needed to do a little extra makeup today because I wasn't feeling powerful this morning, just being honest and raw and real. I'm a truth speaker. So like, I was like, oh, okay, what am I going to even talk about today? I don't feel good. So I went in and this is how I get through it. This is how I keep going. I have an idea and I force myself through. So I went live on my Facebook, and my live, like regular Facebook, not my private group, was like just kind of speaking about what I was reading, and it was like, let me just teach you something today. So I did a foundation match thing and taught people how to do foundation match. And then I did my face, and taught people a little eye look as I was putting it on today. Just like, okay, I'm going to do my makeup anyway. I'm going to go out and just like use this time. Maybe somebody will catch it and it'll help somebody. But also like, I needed to put something on to just be like, okay, I'm feeling professional and ready. I can talk today. So if that shifts anybody's mindsets in the morning, grab a lipstick for yourself, just a lipstick. Don't worry about everything else. Like, find something that just makes you feel powerful, because sometimes that physical thing is just what you need. So that's how God's using me, is from the outside in for people. And then I'll let you, Chris, do the inside
I'll do the
out.
inside out and the outside in. But I think that's so important. I'm putting together a little video kind of similar to that. Like, what's the minimum you need to do to make yourself feel good, right? In the morning, like minimum, wash your face, put some moisturizer on, right? And then what's the next tiny little baby step for me? Like for you, right? Doing eyebrows obviously is going to be a giant thing. My eyebrows are white. So if I put, they're very white. They're very blonde. So, I have some, but you can't see them. So
Right.
putting on my eyebrows and a little bit of lip gloss, ooh, I feel better. Even if I'm just going to go running. If I'm feeling kind of ugly, I'm going to do a little bit before I even go out running.
Well, and like, it's so true. Like, if I don't feel good and I'm forcing myself to go running, I'm probably going to quit a lot sooner or just start walking. I'm not going to lie, because I'm a runner.
Yeah.
I ran cross country. I ran lots of races. Like, and there's those days where you just don't feel good. And it's the same thing waking up to go to work, or same thing to wake up and if you're, a homemaker, like doing all the things around the house versus just sitting
Exactly.
down and being sad, like do that little thing. So
Yeah, just that minimum little bit. And then what's the next little minimum thing? Maybe a little bit of mascara so that my blonde eyelashes, you don't have any, but
any.
my blonde ones show up a little bit,
Yep.
Just what is the next little bit that you can do? And in 3 minutes, you can sort of feel better about yourself. And now you're walking into the grocery store and you're not being like, oh, and kind of in your
That's exactly right.
right? Yeah. That's the way it always feels to me. It may not feel that way to everybody, but
Yeah, and I've met with some people, and some women recently too, where it's those women that are sort of have been kind of believing in the lie of society that less is more, and that why would you want to take the time to wash your face and take care of yourself, like, and that thought of, I don't do all that. And those women that put all that makeup on, they're just hiding behind something. Okay, what are some of the other lies that you've heard, Chris?
oh yeah, it's just not necessary. And what my character is more important than how I show up every day. Like, it doesn't matter what I wear. It doesn't matter whether I have makeup on. It doesn't matter if I've done my hair, like none of that stuff. It's something that I've talked to other people about. I call it like the forgotten femininity. Right? We've forgotten that we are women, and that forever, even back into biblical times, right? Women have worn their hair in a certain way, and they've taken care of their appearance in different ways throughout all the time. But we are called to take care of ourselves. Even in the Bible, we're called to take care of the temple as the home for the Holy Spirit. So I don't know. I think I want my temple decorated nice.
And it's, it's the difference of perception. So when people say these things, they're believing in the lies, and they're implanting it in themselves, and now they're thinking of it in terms of themselves and others. So really, taking care of you is for you and your heart. You're right. It doesn't matter how you show up to work for them and for your job. It matters for you and up here, and how you can put forth your efforts. Okay. So God designed us to be feminine. And I'm not going to lie, I had some slight moments of being a feminist in certain ways, because we live in this very like strong, driven society. And so I always wanted to be just as good as the men and my dad, and I always wanted that, and I still do. I don't see why there's a difference in certain things, except for the fact that I know how I feel when I am true to how God built me and allowing myself to take care of my skin and look good and feel good and be good. So there's just truth behind it. And I will just say, so I'm reading Mary Kay's autobiography.
Oh, it's so good. I'm about halfway through it.
Okay, so have you read, so plug for this, it's pretty inexpensive on Amazon.
Good.
But chapter 14, it's so funny, God aligns things. I'm just now realizing this as we're speaking. Chapter 14 that I read yesterday is called Looking Good and Feeling Great. I have chills right now because I just realized this. I didn't realize what the chapter was called. I was just going to tell you a story that I read and realizing, oh my gosh, it's exactly what we're talking about today. But Mary Kay, when she was first getting started, her mom was in a nursing home. And she went in and gave her mom a facial, and how different her mom felt. And her mom got 6 ladies together. They went in with a few other directors and thought, you know what, we're not expecting any money out of this. We're just going to give back and make some of these women that are stuck in these nursing homes feel better. And so they went in, and little did they know that they were going to come out of there with sales, because, but then after that, that nursing home, let's see, they wanted to do a doctor wanted to do an experiment with 60 nursing home residents and asked Mary Kay to be the part of this because of what she was doing. And so the entire program was going to be monitored and evaluated by a team of doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists. And so they went in, there were 350 residents at this place, and the researchers felt they needed at least 60 volunteers of the residents to do this with. And so to have an adequate scientific study. So they did this study. And what they did was went in and gave them all facials and made their skin feel good and made them look good. They probably put a little lipstick on them, things like that. And 2 months later, Mary Kay went by the nursing home to see how things were progressing. And she said it was absolutely amazing that she found women were with makeup on, they were dressed in their best clothes, wearing jewelry as if they were going to church. And before this, I didn't talk about this, but before, she was talking about how everybody just looked terrible, sad, and didn't even want to get up and out of their rooms and like different things like that. You know what?
Right. Just wearing hospital gowns or whatever, their PJs, whatever.
And in the beginning, she said that men had not been included, because no one thought a 70 or 80-year-old man would be interested in such a thing. But that after talking to the residents, at least half a dozen men, came up and said, we demand equal rights. So we're talking to women, but we're talking to men, man. My husband uses our skincare, and he's probably more worried about what he looks like than I am, like, honestly. And so, anyway, the men wanted to be in this program too, but at the end of the 6 months, the program was documented as a success because a tremendous change had occurred within this nursing home. Women were getting up early in the morning, asking, where's my skincare volunteer? Like looking for their people. You can hear those old ladies saying that stuff. And they held a luncheon at the end of this whole thing to express honor to Mary Kay for what she'd done. And she saw everyone dressed up, alert looking, bright-eyed. and just happy. And they even talked about this one lady that they thought she was long gone mentally. For 3 years. She was just slumped over like this in a wheelchair, like just didn't look up, never made any facial expressions. She was in like the psychiatric ward of the nursing home. Like she was never tended to. She didn't have anybody to care for her and love her. So that's what happens to us, because we're meant to do community and love one another. But they went in and they included her in this study, and they washed her face and they put her a little makeup on her. And they said, Mary Kay, we want you to come and see this lady. Months, I don't know how long after it was. I'd have to find it in the book. But she said she went in there and they said, whatever her name was, Mary, this is the lady who brought you your facial experience. Would you like to say hello? And she actually lifted her head and smiled at Mary Kay. First time she had
Wow.
moved or made any facial expressions or recognition of understanding in 3 years. So if you don't believe what we're saying today, that when you look good or you just feel attended to, even if it's you attending to you, sometimes we have to do that because we don't always have people around us giving us what
We
we
have
need.
to. We always have to. We're not,
So,
other people are not really responsible for making us feel good about ourselves. That's our job.
yep. So,
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that story. I that is part of the reason that I brought Mary Kay into my brand as a functional medicine doctor, because I have done inside out health and wellness for 31 years. And it's a piece of my own personality that I have always attended to. I wore heels and makeup and hair all 30 years of being in private practice. I've always done all this, but it was more for exactly what you're talking about, right? Because it made me feel good about me. For a long time, I did hide behind it. I had to move past hiding behind like wearing makeup to even go to the mailbox or whatever, right? I had to move past that piece at some point, and I have, but now I do it just for me. And I think, I just think that there's, going back to kind of what we were talking about a few minutes ago, so many ladies, to my audience, right? So many of you have kind of just given up. Like you just kind of gave up. Like I think that's what I hear, at least in my sort of my age range of people, 50s, is like, I don't want to do all that anymore. And
they've
it's
hit,
really,
they're
go
sitting on
ahead.
that plateau. They're sitting there and they've sat there for too long to now they're degressing. Is that the right term?
Yeah, they
You have
are
to just find that 30 seconds of bravery and get yourself out of that. You got to push yourself out of that
a little bit.
uncomfortable. You have to be uncomfortable for a moment, and then things will start tracking again.
It's so true. And it doesn't have to be a lot. It can just be easy. It can just be washing your face and putting your eyebrows on if you're blonde, um, or none.
Mhm.
um, it can just be just taking what's the next right step, right? Like what's the next step you could take to
Mhm.
make yourself feel better about yourself?
Mhm.
And I see that a lot with digging into the inside out piece, changing your diet, right? Like, oh, I've always done it this way and it's so hard to go gluten free, and it's so hard, it's so hard, it's so hard. But a lot of that is just what we've talked ourselves into. It's the
Yeah.
stories that we tell ourselves about how hard it really is. And when I go, okay, wait a minute, what if we just did this, this, and this? And they're like, oh, it doesn't have to be so hard. It's not. It doesn't have to be. It's just that we've got ourselves into this, like what you call this plateau or this space where everything looks hard, right? Just
Mhm.
kind of stuck in that spot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I think that for women of faith, like God wants us to be our best version of ourselves every day
Mhm.
for his glory, right? So that we can do his work in the best way for his glory. And that, back to lies in society and particularly in the health and beauty industry, right? Like you're not enough, you're never enough. It's all airbrush and perfection. like the comparison piece that we also we're going to wrap all this whole thing up, right? Just the comparison and doing things out of a sense of guilt and shame
Don't do it
instead
out of
of,
that.
right, instead
Turning
of,
burdens into blessings.
yep, burdens to blessings,
Mm-hmm.
guilt to grace and gratitude.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
So like that's the lies we're talking about. So when those different things that do portray, and that's where people that say, I don't need all that, like get it mixed up, because yes, there is that in our society of covering up, making yourself look fake, like that whole thing. But get that out of your mind. This isn't you. If you're worried about that, you don't have to worry about that, because people that do that aren't even thinking that way. You see what I'm saying? So
Mm-mm.
like the fact that
They're
you're
not that
thinking
aware.
that and you're worried about that, don't worry. Wearing a foundation does not make you that. It's knowledge is understanding, you guys, right? So like I stop going around judging people for wearing makeup if that's something that's on your heart and that's why you're not wearing makeup. Get rid of that. That's
Right.
it. That is the enemy impressing that on you because maybe you had that somewhere in your life, or somebody told you that, or at some point it's just like this wrong idea. Like you do you. It has to be you. And if you're worried about that, that's not you, obviously. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, ours is not to judge. And the other piece of that is, what's the shame or guilt or fear that you're not leaving at the foot of the cross, right? What is that that you don't feel forgiven for? What is it that you're hanging on to, even though as a Christian, like that you've already been forgiven for, and now you think you're bigger than God because you're carrying around this thing, but it's already been forgiven, but you haven't forgiven yourself for that.
Mhm.
So that helps you move through that, and does turn those burdens that we carry around, right? We can now see them as blessings. We can take the shame and start to serve, right? We can serve out of that instead of hanging on to the shame, or the guilt can go to, accepting the grace and the forgiveness, and move into a place of gratitude
Mhm.
where we want to serve
Mhm.
in such a more free way.
Mhm. Yeah. And that's not to say don't grieve if you're in a certain place, like grieving the loss of
Oh,
your hair. You
absolutely.
go through that emotional transition, right? Like go get a therapist to help walk you through that, and then understand that you will be walked through it. You won't be staying in it. You'll be
That's
walking
right.
through it, but you need to in order to grow and experience what God has for you next. And if you don't know the Lord and save as your savior, like just trust us. um, and just trust that like you're here on purpose, and that um, anything's possible and you're welcome no matter where you're at in your journey, but that just there is a God that loves you and designed you to be you. And so go out and be brave enough to bear that spirit inside of you, because he put you here for a reason. We are all put here. We're like the building blocks of a building. They each might be fashioned as a rectangle, like we're all humans, but not everyone supports the same amount of weight in the
No.
building, but we all are needed to create the building. Okay, so you are important. If I pull one out, the building will fall. So just know that.
Oh, love that analogy. That is such a great analogy. I look at it like a great big organizational chart, right? You've got the CEO at the top, that would be God, just so you know, right? I know we all try to get up there and put ourselves in that position, but that I don't know about you, Becky, but that never works for me. But then you've got like all the vice presidents and all the managers, like all the positions, and that is God's kingdom, right? We all fit into one of those little organizational slots. And if you're trying to do it all, ladies, you're taking other people's jobs that God designed them for.
Mhm. And he's our
So,
father. So if you're a parent at all out there, you understand what it feels like to want your child to live his or her best life. Like you want
so
everything for
good.
them. You want everything for them. And they might mess up and fall down, and they might think they're not good enough to sing on stage at their school concert. What do you say to them? Yes, you are. You got this. And I don't even
Absolutely.
care if you suck. I just want to see you up there. he speaks to us and he loves us the same way. It's emotional. You might not audibly hear from him and you might not physically be able to see him, but you're going to feel it. It's that feeling you feel for your child you can't put a vision on, right? It's that same thing. We are his kids. And so it's just, just believe it. Just know it.
I love that. Thank you so much for bringing such a beautiful faith message to today. I never know where these are going to go. A lot of times, again, it's just Holy Spirit driven for me. And that's just, whew. All right, y'all.
Really
I hope
good.
you have gotten a lot out of today, because Becky has brought her best today. Let me tell you. Is there anything else that you'd like to put out there that you didn't get to say, that you were like, oh shoot, I really wanted to talk about this?
No, I think honestly, I think Holy Spirit just spoke everything all. I think we wrapped it up in a pretty little bow today. So just remember, knowledge is understanding. Go out to turn your burdens into blessings and be brave enough to be bare.
Oh, I love that. And how do people find you?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Gosh, yeah, because back in the day I used to have like the website and this and that. But they can find me on Facebook, Rebecca Hibbs Newson, and then Instagram is Becky Hibbs Newson,
Okay.
Newson. I'm there and you can direct message me.
Awesome. I love that. And all of her contact info will be in the show notes below anyway. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening today. Please like, subscribe, do all the things. Throw me a review if you've liked what you've heard today. I really appreciate it. Love you, love you, love you all so much. And you are loved too. Talk to you later. I will be back soon. Bye.